Anxiety and abuse. And if you only diagnose anxiety and abuse, then you can't get a diagnosis that says that you're trans. And if you can't do that, then you can't get gender affirming care. But now states are passing laws that says if you have self-asserted gender dysphoria, then you can get medical coverage as young as 15 years old for gender care. This also, as part of the same bill, does include surgeries. But the thing is it's contentious because, like, no one's talking about cutting off a 15-year-old boy's dick. Like, regardless of if that boy says that he wants a vagina. Because at that point, he's he, and even if she uses she and it's a girl, no girl, we're not doing that. Not until 18. But
I kind of get that, just because, like, it's a big thing to go through at a young age.
Right.
Like, but...
And so they'll spin it and say gender surgery. Right? Which is true. They will offer that to kids. Yeah. Mastectomies and breast reduction. Because why is some trans mask type or, like, female-born person with breasts that's going through puberty, when he's hanging out with his bros, why is he going to try to have breasts like that? Or they, them, whatever their pronouns are.
Yeah.
So the Republicans, basically, the Christians, can say, without it being factually disproven, that as young as 15 is able to, without a parental unit, consent to surgery, which is true. It doesn't mean that the surgeons are necessarily playing games with that, though, because the surgeons want what they call family care. Watch out, you're in a lane that's going to close.
Yeah. Bus.
I know, but
I know.
I always wave.
Look, there's always like one guy digging a hole and like a bunch of people watching him dig the hole.
My favorite thing is waving to them, talking to them, and showing them my boobs. That's my favorite thing. Because I just assume that some of them will love it, and some of them it'll literally ruin their lives. They'll go home to their wife, I have a confession. It'll like fuck up their marriage. That's just like my thought. Wow, this tree is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a nice tree.
It's probably 100-year-old dogwood. So I'm watching Ben Shapiro say things like to the effect of, you wouldn't chop off someone's arms just because they want to identify as a paraplegic. And I'm like, you can't get away with that. That's such a bad faith argument. Right? So in his new video, he doesn't say that. Yeah. Like, because he got called out for it. Because it's like, it's really a bad faith argument. Yeah. And like, it's obviously a bad faith argument. And
if you said like, oh, they want to identify as a snake or something, that's a little bit better. But like to.
And even that is, and he does say that. He's like, if they want to identify as a firefighter, that's fine. But if they want us to use firefighter only pronouns, where does it stop? And then there's also the argument of, if a boy wants to, or if a girl wants to identify as, I forget what it was, but yeah, it's basically like a snake. It's just like, where does it stop?
If they said something about the firefighters, I would have gotten like so butthurt. Like, he sounds like he's just a dumbass who's trying to piss people off.
I mean, he's not a dumbass. He's the highest intellectual razor's edge argument of the conservative network of, I don't want to say ethno-Christian, but that is what I mean. Like, white conservative.
I mean, that's like the most educated person who does it, and they're supposed to be like the smartest, and that's not very good.
Well, he's one of the best propagandists.
Yeah. Because
of the audience, and because of his wide scope of topics. He's a pundit. Like, it is his career to make it his business to talk about this stuff and fuck up people like my life.
Yeah.
It's pretty shitty. Oh man, was I not recording that whole time? What a meme if that's the case. It's funny. Whenever I try to make it focus on something, no matter how many times I click it, it just doesn't really do it. There it goes. Yeah. But then when I'm just sitting there playing guitar, like not even moving, this thing's over here like Like it's got like hydraulics like or something. It's
Yeah.
fucking annoying. Jeez, this is gone. I think that people do feel the same. I think that culturally a lot of them have been gaslighted or shamed into the monogamy like thinking patterns, you know? They just and you know, you end up in a situation where, like, for me it's not that I'm planning the end. It's just that I don't plan for forever.
Yeah.
And it never ceases to amaze me and appall me that the default in this culture, not emotionally, but the default, at least in the culture, is to plan forever immediately. Like, where do you think we should get married? That's a question no one asks each other until they've wasted a full year of their lives together hating each other. Why do they do it? A pileated woodpecker.
Yeah, I had one of those in my yard once. They're very impressive.
No idea what it is or what it's gonna become.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good color.
Yeah.
I think these are definitely not natural. I think someone planted these. Is my guess.
Definitely.
Because this is a flower bed.
I think they may have like come to grow here. That happens a lot.
You can hear it way off in the distance. We come live from St. Agnes. It's a cemetery. Over there is. I walked in from this way. I don't usually walk here, but I walked here today. And yeah, this railroad crossing. A lot of the time when I cross it, I just think like, you know, one of these days, this is it. Like once I cross that threshold, there's no coming back. Like, I know it. I just don't want to believe it. Anyways, my friend is almost here. I see them driving in now, so. Yep, that's the text. I guess I won't die today. Why don't you just buy earplugs? Because it doesn't do anything. You can still hear the mowing all the time. I look old and I feel old. I went biking, but then it was too cold, so I just came back and I'm like, I'm not trying to bike. Instead, we can deal with the camera doing this. Back to spring in the Northeast. This plant here that I'm ripping up, see this? Look how far out this goes. It's a vine, look at that. It's called the Oriental Bittersweet. It's the most invasive species out here, and basically it's a root that sometimes grows above the ground. Ugh, whatever. This whole entire forest is networked with this. It's just ridiculous. It kills everything, climbs everything. I'm going to show you what it looks like early in the season when it's just competing with like honeysuckle, which is also the most invasive. And then by the end of this, you'll see it crawling up like everything out here. It'll be up this tree before you know it. Yeah, here it all is. Look at all this. Yeah, you'll see it. You'll see it triple. And I mean that. I mean triple. It's ridiculous. Welcome back to Rainbows and Razor Blades, the show from the void. Today's episode will contain graphic and disturbing content, harsh and abusive language, violence, hate speech, nudity, undiagnosed mental illness, and other triggering and dark topics that may be distressing for some viewers and against the terms of service for most mainstream hosting websites. The themes and opinions expressed in this program should be considered psychotic and entirely fictional and should not be used for political or academic purposes. Facts are not checked, and no sources or citations will be provided. Should you choose to redistribute my broadcast, please do so responsibly and in good faith. Thank you again for respecting our privacy. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. Today, by the Gregorian calendar, it is currently the 21st day in the 4th month of the year, the month of April, in the year of the Lord, 2022. By the French Revolutionary calendar that took effect and sought to decimalize the clock in 1792 to bring about a revolution of a scientific age, it is currently the month of Blossom, and it is the 3rd day. We come live today from this dog walking normie park, but I'm in the woods. Today's episode is going to be a little different because I'm going to outline what my channel is and what it's going to become. Because it's taken me 2 years to figure that out. And I've only been uploading content for about a year to this name, but I've been recording for about 5 years now with my camera, and it's funny because it evolved first from when I was like 13, filming like skits and Robot Chicken stuff, and just films, short films, narratives, stories, little episodes, little YouTube content things, to then giving that up completely and doing nothing with it for over 10 years until I was 26 when I started recording again. But obviously very different. And now that I'm 30, I have my own channel. It's pretty cool. I definitely feel a lot different than I used to, and I speak a lot different than I used to, because I'm a lot different than I used to be. This is where I used to come even as a little kid. I used to walk here, I used to call it Turtle Island. But, my channel's gonna be, the reason I'm starting my episode here is because this is where my life started. Like, this is where I threw my razor blade when I gave up cutting into there, and it tweaked me out because it landed not in the water. It's fucking airplanes. It didn't land in the water. It landed on this little island because it just wasn't a great throw, and that has always haunted me. It used to haunt me until I thought about it, and I was like, it's been over 15 years. That thing has certainly decayed into rust, and probably is nothing now. And if it is, it's buried over in the sands of time, but it's unsettling. I wish it had gone in the water. I hope no beavers got cut on it, but I doubt that. But the thought haunts me, that somehow my trauma could have traumatized the environment. Well, my littering. My you know, I'd cut myself so many fucking times with that razor blade that by the time I threw it in there, it was already dull. That's a scary fucking thought. Well, I'd also cut, you know, into cardboard and other stuff. Very psychotic behavior. Just like very unhealthy behavior. I was 16 when I threw it away. 14 when I started. Started self-injuring as a stim escape at my friend's birthday party. I was watching all the boys from my old, you know, middle school or elementary class even playing, you know, football in the backyard. And they were playing tackle football because this was a birthday party. So there was no teachers to tell them, hey, don't tackle each other. We have to prevent lawsuits. And I wasn't playing. You know, I'm a little bitch. And I remember pushing this nail that just like happened to be outside on their deck. Maybe from deck, who knows? It was just a nail. I just remember like poking it into my leg, and like it did enough to displace what I didn't realize at the time was stim overload. That I just needed to de-stim and step away, and also gender dysphoria. You know, I didn't know about those things as a kid, so I just was, you know, self-injuring myself as a stim thing. And this quickly evolved into like, well, it never really, I enjoyed the aesthetic of all the like, I think females, where they were like emo and like licking razor blades, they were like cutting themselves, and they were romanticizing their pain. And there was enough of that in the early 16 kilobyte GIF size animation, blinkety little icon AOL era, and the subsequent Zanga/MySpace era, that I fell kind of in love with the aesthetic. And it's interesting because I had already started cutting myself before I found out that that was like a thing that people did, let alone that there was like a weird aesthetic attached to it. And I didn't know, like, it wasn't like it wasn't monkey see, monkey do. It was monkey do and then see, and was like, wait a minute, I'm not the only monkey? There's other monkeys doing it? But what was really bizarre, and what threw me for a loop, is it was only chicks. It was only ever females, and I could never figure that out. And I would read that too, like, yeah, it seems to be like a predominantly, like, only female thing. And I was like, what the hell? Like, why am I the only guy cutting myself? That never made any sense to me. So if you're wondering where the razor blades part of the, you know, the name Rainbows and Razor Blades comes from, well, there you go. Actually, the rainbow preceded the razor blades by, I mean, I'm 30, so about 25 years. Not, probably more than that. Or maybe, how old are kindergartners? I was in kindergarten. I was in preschool when I was writing, you know, poetry, drawing rainbows in the sky. They were the most beautiful things I'd ever seen, and I liked rollerblading. Like, this is preschool. Liked Power Rangers and shit too. I identified as the Rainbow Ranger. People were like, "Whoa, which one's the Rainbow Ranger?" I'm like, me. They were very mean about it. Anyways, so there was this, you know, religious school that I got sent to, and there was a, you know, to its credit, it pulled you in quite well because they had really good kindergartner teachers. I think that's true. Like, all my memories in kindergarten are fucking lit. You know, I remember a lot, especially putting the caterpillars that were monarch butterflies outside. I really liked that a lot because we grew them. We also grew chicks, like from eggs. Pretty bizarre stuff, you know. Who knows if it was a scandal or not, but I think they hatched rather than were like swapped out, you know, after school hours. Like, oh look, they all hatched. I think they hatched. I don't really have clear memory of it, but I remember being very excited with the rest of the class. I remember story time. I remember sitting in a circle, just fun times, you know. They hadn't gender broke the kids back then. They didn't force us to wear yarmulkes back then. Not in kindergarten. That started in first grade. Boys on this side, girls on that side. Girls in this room, boys in that room. Didn't matter what you wanted. They just didn't matter. Didn't matter. But there was a rainbow that she would hang using fishnet. It's kind of similar material to You See Me Dancing in. And she used it to hang up a rainbow above everyone's heads. And it wasn't, this was before that it symbolized, well, maybe not, but the intention back in 1990, whatever, 6, 7, I don't know how old I was. I don't know how old kids are. Probably like 1997. It was not a queer agenda. Like today, it's like suspect whether it. First of all, the queer agenda is a meme, but anyways. But it was religious, and it had to do with Noah's Ark and the story of God's forgiveness after he fucking destroys the earth because there was too many people having butt sex in Gomorrah and Sodom. They were sodomites, you know. They did each other in the butt. It was bad, you know. God punished them for their sins and for their treachery. And then he was like, you know, I probably shouldn't destroy the entire fucking earth anymore. That seems kind of sus. I'm sorry I did that. Like, I'm sorry I made it rain for literally 40 days and 40 nights, but at least that you saved 2 of every single animal on one big boat. And, like, that's lit. So, you know, you can listen to, like, Jordan Peterson talk about, like, you know, the stories of, the Bible and all that. But that was the archetype. And, you know, I was too young to understand that. So I just liked the rainbow. And I remember as a young child wanting that so badly that I brought my parents to the store to purchase, I don't know, it wasn't very expensive, but like fishnet, and I created my own rainbow. So I've always had one. It's always been a huge part of me. And when I got older, I played 5-color control deck in Magic the Gathering, and also Reaper King and Scuttlemutt and Chromatic Lantern and Maelstrom Nexus and Maelstrom Wanderer. I never really cared for Progenitus. Is Progenitus the one that says if it didn't come into play, like if you didn't play it from your hand, then like you can't do it? I never really liked that. I was like, nah. I get why they printed that, because it did signify a power creep that was coming, but I liked that. I really liked that. So, yeah, I mean, that's why rainbows and razor blades, because, you know, people are curious. But it really is 2 things that are very core to my soul, and, you know, I mean, it's also pretty cliche. It just sounds good too, so it made sense when I was like trying to think of like an album name. And then, you know, it was actually it came originally from my book, I think, is how it popped into my head. I'm not really sure. It may have been a song, actually. My soul was rainbows and razor blades. I wrote those words with my blood on a page. My soul was rainbows and razor blades. I'll leave this world when my life form decays. And then it like goes on. It's very cliche. Sometimes angels die, but stars will always fly. Sometimes storm clouds cry, but then the sun will shine. Sometimes rainbows fade, but come around in time. Someone's heart will break, but this one's always mine. People love that shit. I'm sorry I can't sing. I'm really, my singing is as scuffed as my teeth. And as when they ask you, well, what does it say on your license? And I say, dude, it just has an X. And if you don't believe me, I'm not going to show you my license. I don't answer questions. There's this YouTube channel where I forget what the show or the movie where he takes it from, but it's just this dude. He's like, I don't answer questions, and the cops are like, why not? And he's like, I don't answer questions. There's this meme about I don't want to get too sidetracked. So that's why rainbows and razor blades. So what is my channel and where is it going? We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. I mean, I didn't really stop for a particular reason. So I'm in real time recording immediately. So where and you know, I didn't start out to be a vlog. That wasn't my intention. It's just that's right now kind of what I'm forced to contend with, because I don't have a production studio or experience or the required just wind. Something fell out of it. Or the required wherewithal, focus, executive function skills, to really be able to try to do things at all. I mean, I barely function. And I'd like to change that. And I think very soon that will be something that changes for me. But I'm going to need a lot of help. Here's the thing. I've had a lot of help before. So here's what I am. Like, here's what the channel is going to become. I am a foundation. Not me personally. But Rainbows and Razor Blades is a foundation. And, you know, what you choose to make of that is what you choose to make of that. But what I'm making out of it is, it isn't quite a religion. It's definitely not a cult. It isn't exhaustively a philosophy. But that is a big part of it. And the sharing of knowledge and the sharing of intimacy, for lack of a better term, whether sexual or otherwise, and the sharing of just joy and just the moments of life that, like, you know, people like stories, they do, but look at these things, man. No other generation has ever had anything quite like it. Not even similar, you know? Like, and this is just in my hand. Like, I'm just out here in the woods recording this. Like, that is, I'm the most blessed creature to ever walk this earth. I feel like that. Like compared to like a caveman, like, wowee, man, look what I can do. So nothing's really gonna stop me from doing it and putting it on the internet. But it also means that I get to share the important stuff, rather than just the mundane, like, well, look at me, I'm walking around pulling up Oriental Bittersweet. See what I mean by it's a root system? You're not actually, because this is what you can see. But then this is everything else. And this goes, you know, I mean, the whole forest is. It's the whole forest. I think trauma is very similar to Oriental Bittersweet. And it has, trauma has a way of often outgrowing us later on in life. And I think that happened to me for a very long time. And it wasn't until I became kind of like truly meta self-cognizant of how I am, what I am, how I function, how I should function, that I was able to start correcting for that. There's a lot of progress to be made. There's a long way to go. You know, I'm not out here pretending to be a life coach. I wear the title priestess apprehensively because I'm still in a liminal phase of transition. Like, this is like my initiation, my rite of passage is underway. So it's like, yes, I'm a priestess, but there's a difference between being like a preacher, which is Christian. I'm not a Christian. I have a lot of the Christian ethos in me, but it's very different. So there's a skunk cabbage that I'm looking for, but have not been able to yet find. So that's to concern itself with, like, what exactly that will come of this. Sometime in probably the next 6 to 18 months, I think, is kind of my most pragmatic timeline. That's what I'm aiming for, at least. But the thing is that's just until it resembles. That's until we sprout. Like, right now, I'm a seed. That's how I feel about it. And until that isn't the case, you know, it's going to be kind of hard to grow. I absolutely cannot stand being perceived. Can't stand it. Anytime there's anybody around, I just bail. So anyways, I was talking about what exactly the channel is going to become. So I'm a foundation. Like, it's going to become a movement. We'll see where it moves. It's going to become a community on top of that movement. And I don't don't know. It's interesting because the namesake is truly what I'm going for. There is still that dark aesthetic indulgence into the razor blades, the glorification of pain, the romanticization of self-mutilation, the profane, the just like the goth, the problematic, the semi-automatic. You know, like I say such things, and there's a big darkness side to me. You know, red and black from Magic the Gathering are kind of those archetypes. Red being like rage, black being like, you know, decay. And I channel those two colors under Bant. Is kind of how I look at it. It's like Bant core, but splash blue-black. Like that's who I am. And that's what I think Rainbows and Razor Blades is. And that's what I plan to bring to you people. You people. What do I mean by you people? I plan to make bad jokes. I plan to poke at your perversions. I plan to poke at your sensibilities. I plan to poke at your ways of thinking in ways that are like... You hear Alan Watts, the way that Alan Watts talks about people who try to master Zen rather than like anything else. Like, I'm not a guru. I'm not trying to be a, or maybe I am. I don't know yet. I guess we'll find out. But I'm trying to poke people in that type of way. Like, it isn't because someone's paying me. It's because I want people to be able to open their minds. And it isn't because I have like an agenda. It's just that the frame of life that most people look through is it's a window. And, you know, I think that keeps them safe. Like a stained glass window. This is my old theme song. This is how I used to come on. Like a stained glass window. The first words were, like a stained glass window with a rock through it. Look at this cool thing. Like a stained glass window with a rock through it. Going insane like I already called the mob to hit. I got these horny little coeds getting off to it. Going insane. Like I don't really have the balls to quit. And then it repeats. But instead it says, here, hold on. I love role-playing that this is like World War III area. Like I read a lot of good World War III fiction here. That's another thing I'm gonna bring you. So I'm also, so like that's what Rainbows and Razor Blades is. But it's also a book I'm writing. Like, you know, it's everything to me. And you know, it's my album of music is themed around this. It's the book that I'm writing is themed around this. And the book has nothing to do with the music. and the book like it's like all three of these things that I'm working on have the same name. 4 if you include like the fact that it is a cultural movement. It's a genre piece. Like it's a genre. And the thing is, I'm not even so sure it's that original. I just think that I'm pitch perfect. I truly believe that. For what I'm doing, I'm pitch perfect. And, well, maybe not with my singing. Maybe we'll get there someday. The second album, actually, because the first one was Rainbows and Razor Blades. You can find that phone recording nonsense on my SoundCloud. But the second one that I'm going to be releasing is called Help. This isn't my body. This isn't my voice. I can't sing. Please make cover songs and fan art. And then I'm going to have every single one of my friends IRL draw me a cat and then put them all on a collage. So if you're watching this before it gets made, you know, and you send me a cat, you may get on my album cover. That'd be pretty cool. Like someday that'll be lit, you know, that'll be like a vintage thing you could like point at in your 40s and be like, yeah, it was really cool. This is back before the war started, you know, back before they genocided all the trans women. Gender is another big part of the rainbow these days. Big part of my channel. God, I hate it. But I am trans. Or at least I'm something. Because I definitely don't speak for any like wider community of trans. If anything, I'm in opposition. Well, I should say they're in opposition to me. I just have an opinion and they tell me that it's wrong. And I'm like, okay. Well, maybe. But, you know, that's a episode for another time. I have these ideas, I have these ways of being, and I can't wait to share them with all of you. I can't wait to just bring you so much energy, so much color, and so much just like life enrichment. And like maybe a bit of kinky pain too. I'm not above inflicting that on my audience. Anyways, thanks for listening. This is Rainbows and Razor Blades. We'll be back another time. Bye. Thanks for joining.